you're right. Shit, I digress. I'm no longer Republican.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm Democrat.
I'm gonna change
You know what? You've
right.
completely changed my opinion.
You completely changed my opinion, and now I think we got 2 Democrats on this presidential ticket.
Yeah, just Trump all of a sudden. He's like, you know what, guys, I'm a Democrat too.
Yeah.
Oh shit, yes.
That would be the most like historical thing ever if like okay, Trump and Hillary get up to the debate on stage and one of them makes a point and the other person's just like, you know what? I changed my mind actually. You're completely right. That is completely reasonable. I've been looking into this stuff on the side, and like, you know what? You finally sold it for me. I'm running for the Republican Party.
Yeah. Now, how are we going to solve this? Because technically, I'm the Republican nominee and you're the Democrat nominee, but now we're both Democratic nominees. Except that I'm not the nominee.
Let me go ask the Republican convention if I can, switch over.
I still want to run on the Republican ticket, but I am a Democrat.
Yeah. Usually what happens to me, like, I think, well, at least what I hope rational people do, if I lose an argument, I will usually think of other arguments I possibly could have made. And if I find it, like, justified, or if I find myself satisfied with new arguments I've thought up, then I'll just, like, kind of put that in the back burner and not change my mind. But if I can't think of any new arguments, I will either try to synthesize my own view with their view, or I'll just change completely. It depends.
Yeah, I typically, when I see something make rational sense, I will split my view pretty immediately. Whereas I don't feel like I may, at the core, if I see an argument that's coming at me that I still don't believe is correct, I'm going to sit on it for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm going to go, okay, I still don't think that's right, but I can't argue, and I can't win this debate, but that doesn't mean that my position is fallacious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I might just not be arguing it right or something, or like I think that's something that I do as well, where it's like afterwards I'll think like, is it, first of all, the first thing to address is it justified for me to discard my arguments, and then from there it's like, you work toward either changing your view or you'll find like more information about it,
Yeah, and this is what leads a lot of people to confirmation bias, of course. But I think this is it's a thing where for me it's like, okay, is this person correct or not correct? And I want to know. I want to know if my position is incorrect. And there's a particular example, like I said, if it makes rational sense and I don't have any further doubt, I'll change my position instantly.
Yeah. See, go on. Sorry.
If that shadow of the doubt is there, though, that's what creates the problem.
Yeah, definitely. So I was pretty, like most people who are my age, I was pretty liberal like 2 years ago or whatever. I was like, I would identified as a progressive and like liberal values, stuff like that. Which is funny because liberalism nowadays is wildly different than the classical liberal values that our country was even founded on in the French Revolution, things like that. But I think a lot of it was that I grew up in like a very conservative home, and my parents really aren't. They hold conservative views, but they aren't really based on reason. They're based on kind of like tradition, like just like stuff they've picked up on, and they could never really argue with me. And because I was never exposed to that, I just assumed that, oh, well, then I must be on the right side. But then as I got older, then I was exposed to more information, and I realized that they are right about some things, just I wasn't exposed to those arguments as I was younger, and when I talked to them about it, because it was really just that was the only people I knew who were conservative, and yeah.
Right. So here, my standpoint is like debate in itself is a skill. If you're good enough at debate, you usually can beat people even if you're wrong.
Yeah.
If the other party doesn't have the skill. Like Eric can argue a point and still win, even if the point's wrong.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, Eric's going to watch this and he's going to hear this, but sometimes I feel like Eric is more focused on winning the argument than getting to like the actual truth. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not arguing from the truth, just that I feel like in a case where he could either prioritize finding a truth or winning an argument against someone, I feel like he would prioritize the latter. I could be wrong about that.
Well, you got to look at it from his standpoint too, though. I mean, he's an any dominant. He likes to have fun. And
yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an exploration of ideas, even more so than coming to a complete consensus. And for him, it's the whole concept of debate is fun in itself, and being right to him is It's
I don't
it's
find
just
debate fun. I find it to be a job, and most of the
yeah.
time I find it not worth it to try to convince people who are in disagreement.
It's a
Yeah, well,
particular skill I wish I got better at. Sorry, basement over. Go ahead.
yeah, well, like I mean, I just want to cut in too because I haven't said anything, but like for me, like I think of debates almost as like battles because like I mostly hold my opinion to myself because I'm never really sure if I'm right for the most part. But if
That's how I
someone
am
says
too.
something,
Yeah.
yeah, if someone says something that I know for a fact is just fucking retarded, then I'll say it, and at that point it's just a battle because I know for 100% fact that I'm right and they're wrong, and the like I just keep just attacking them with my opinion because I just think that they're so wrong that they need to know this, and
Yeah.
sometimes I realize that I'm actually wrong on the topic, and in that case like I actually I don't instantly just like stop the entire thing because it was like when I was doing it, it was almost like a battle between my opinion versus your opinion. We're in a fight to see who wins. So if I just all of a sudden side with them, then it feels like I lost. So I almost sort of just like slink off and then go research it on my own and then come back with my opinion having been changed. Unless I
Well,
feel
Yeah.
comfortable with the person.
Well, Eric and I specifically talked about problem solving and coming to a conclusion in a sense of conflict. And for me, the ultimate goal is to end the conflict as fast as possible, not to avoid it, but to end it. I want to get to the next conclusion. I want to get to the next point. And so it's not that it doesn't mean that I want to concede my point. If I know that something's wrong, I'm not going to progress with it. But it's how do I resolve this as quickly as possible? So to me, naturally, debate isn't fun because it's a process, and I want to get through it as quickly as possible, and I'm likely to skip steps.
And also, I
But
feel like I can't like argue a lot of my points as well as some other academics may be able to.
right. Yeah, and that's the challenge of it. To me, debate is limited in a sense because it doesn't prove something is right or wrong by absolutes. It proves who has the better skill of debate. And that's where my challenge is because you can look at Eric. He fragments every debate, every argument, and then bottoms it out at is it rational or is this particular premise that you built your entire argument on, is it rational or not? Which is, I think, a very logical way to approach it. And it's a good question to ask. Is it? And you'll usually find that most people's standpoints in any argument is based in some kind of morality or based in some kind of position that is, personal or emotional.
It's usually normative claims of just like this
Yeah.
is what things ought to be. That's definitely the basis of a lot of people's arguments, especially like from the left. And I don't know, at least on a local level, I'm not completely opposed to some sort of like social programs, but there's I just don't see any justification as to why it should be at a federal level. If anything, it should be,
Right.
if it's going to exist, it needs to be decided democratically by the people on a local scale. That's the best way to decide it. And what's funny, also, Basement Overlord, you said that it feels like a battle to you, which is really interesting because the word polemic, which means contentious argumentation to attack another position, actually comes from the Greek word polemos, which was basically like war. That's literally what it meant. It was war.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's really interesting if you like look at the etymology of like polemic, and it's funny that's because it is kind of it really does feel like a war.
That's the thing. It's most people are not searching for the truth in an argument. They're not searching for the truth. Their aim is to uphold their own current beliefs. So that I treat it as a battle because it essentially is a battle of this is my belief, this is your belief, which one is right. It's not let's work together because sometimes it is let's work together to find the truth. In that case, it's more of a discussion than anything.
Yeah, and those are a lot less energized, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a lot less.
There's no emotion because it's like you don't have conviction. You're just trying to find the truth, and then once you find the truth, then that becomes your truth, and there's no emotional attachment to it. It is what it is. I don't care about 2 + 2 = 4. It's just a thing.
It's just an axiom. It's already been established for you. Yeah. I just want to clarify because I know Eric's probably going to watch this. I feel like I'm saying that when I said that earlier that Eric would probably prefer to win the argument over like finding a truth. I feel like that means that I'm implying that Eric doesn't or isn't interested in the truth, which isn't that's not true. I think Eric definitely is interested in the truth, but it's you're right that you picked up on Chad that it's like even when he argues from a progressive position, it's very he puts it very well. I probably if he argued against me from like a liberal's perspective, I probably wouldn't be able to win. In text, maybe. If in text, when I can sit and like think about my response and convey it like elaborately, um, I have a lot more time to articulate my ideas, and I can pick out the logical inconsistencies a lot easier than when
Right.
in chatting. You know.
Right. And that's the challenge. Like him being a perceiver first and you being a judger first. We naturally want to judge the incoming information, and that sometimes takes time, especially an introverted judger, even more so than an extroverted judger. And him being a perceiver first, he's looking at all these perspectives, and he's able to do that. And that's why ENTPs have a knack for debate, because they do that really well, and they're very, very, very skilled at it. Obviously, Eric's very skilled at it, and I always find him flip-flopping views for fun is amusing to me, but I would never find myself doing that because I don't have the skill to pull that off successfully. And,
Yeah, and
at
it's
some
just
point I
doesn't
wish
really fit your probably doesn't fit your NI truth either. Like you're looking for what is you're looking for those axioms, and playing around with different
right.
views and ideologies isn't a way to find that. It's just you don't have fun like that. That's how I feel. I feel as well.
I
Um,
have fun build. That's my fun. I want to build
Yeah.
shit. I want to move shit forward. So the political standpoint that I have is, if I were, let's say hypothetically, I were elected into any kind of political office, the first thing I would do is surround myself who do have an alternative perspective, INTPs, ISTPs, people who have an alternative perspective to look at stuff and fragment truths to be able to find the bottom line. I'm not going to interject my ideas. Hey, Zach, you must believe in capitalism, so therefore I'm going to point you because you believe in capitalism. I'm going to say, hey, I want you to find out what is the potential best method and look at and analyze these particular aspects for me because I have a weaker area in that department. I want you to look at different aspects and fragment these ideas and to be able to say what is the bottom line truth and give me perspective, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's.
and so go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I don't mean to
Yeah,
interject.
I'll cut in something
Yeah.
too. I think also TE versus TI. I think TE is more cared about the thing that works, and I know a lot of like TE valuers. They don't necessarily of course they care about how things work and the truth and stuff, but their primary goal is whatever gets the job done. Whereas the TI DOMs are more focused on does all this stuff fit together in a way that actually makes sense. So
Yeah.
TE users are more likely just to go with, okay, this thing works, we're going to keep doing this. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's working, whereas the TI DOM might actually forego a more efficient method because it doesn't make sense to them.
I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
that
Oh, go on.
okay, so I want to jump on that point because that's 100% accurate for me. I don't care about looking at 15 different nuances. I want to know what the hell works, and then lay it down. That's the first thing. So you'll find that the most important thing for me is efficiency, and it's not so much and it's practicality. Can it work? I mean, you may have the greatest idea in the world, but if it costs too much resources, we're gonna have to find another idea.
Yeah.
And that's
It could, it could be like a half-baked idea. Like the perfect idea would be amazing. We cure cancer, but it would just be too much work.
Right. It's efficiency versus precision, and that's the angle that I've always looked at TI versus TE. Is TI has, and I've always called TI a universal truth because it seeks to have that consensus based on these truths that are already like axioms per se, whereas TE just wants to make efficiency in the environment, so it can use a lot of these truths, but we can also have a less effective method in a particular aspect, but it also benefits from another angle. So we're looking at the objective expansion, whereas I find that TI users also tend to dive much deeper in particular subjects and know different angles much more effectively than TE naturally. And so that's where I've always admired the insight of people who prefer TI for that reason, because they fragment things that I typically don't, and they give me alternative perspective. Example, Eric earlier, he said, well, if you don't have historical context, then you can't say that you can't invalidate my claim because I don't use that as a reference to where I come from. And I said, okay,
Right.
that's true. And I could see that, but he gave me an alternative perspective, which efficiently changed my mind on the matter, and there's no argument against it. And so for me, I had no argument, and I totally believed it, and I was like, you're 100% right. Why I'm not going to argue this point further. So he gave me an alternative perspective, which I value about TI is, whereas I think a lot of people personalize their arguments, and they make it into a sense where it's me versus you versus my idea versus your idea. And that's where it's like I can get rid of this idea because I don't attach to ideas, I attach to practicality. Is it applicable?
Yeah, I think that's the difference in like I think you and Eric generally agree on probably the similar points. I'm not sure if you got into the intricacies of what you guys believe. You might find some like contradictions, but it's interesting that you view the Constitution as efficient, whereas Eric might view it as more like you said, precise. You know the Constitution is beneficial because you've looked at particular points in time that it's been enacted, and you saw that changing away from that or making efforts to move away from it has resulted in things that you disagree with or inefficiency, whereas Eric agrees with it on principle value, like sort of like the precision. What I will say about TI, I'm not sure if ISTPs act like this, but Eric said this once before about INTPs, what they do with their TI, and it's that we'll usually build a structure of pretty much a framework to run everything through, especially something like politics, but we'll do it in a very careful way. So we have certain areas that if they get blown out, so to speak, then the foundation is still there, and just that area just needs to be replaced or refined, but you still have like the complete structure. I think that's what TI DOMs do when approaching any type of specific subject or specific circumstance. They will build a logical structure that is pretty much foundational, where it won't, if one part is knocked out, then the whole thing doesn't necessarily have to change. But sometimes it does have to change. Sometimes the framework does have to be thrown out, but.
And this was depicted in particularly because Eric was giving me, I guess, a particular perspective on something a few videos ago, and I said, I agree with you about these ideas, but how can we put them to use? And he goes, well, damn, I haven't thought about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so he goes, I just like to understand it or explore it further, and for me, it's like, I want to be able to utilize these ideas. I think when we were talking about education, and so if an idea doesn't have practical application for me, at a certain point, it's like, I don't really want to pursue it anymore, and so this is where my intolerance with excess theory goes into, and I have an intolerance toward it, not so much that I'm irritated by it, but just like, okay, let's get to the point. How can we get this moving forward? Whereas I find that TI is much more thorough in theirs, and so if TI can flex a little bit to me and give me the point, you have 4 options, here's what they are, I've analyzed all these, and I trust that person's perspective, and they're going to give me pros and cons for each, great. I can look at it and go, that's what I need, because I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what I like. I value that. And working in business, obviously, I've hired people that can do that for me effectively to be able to present other options for me. Whereas if they cannot do that, they kind of have the same strengths as I do. I don't find it beneficial at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't use. Oh, go on.
I was gonna change the subject a little bit. Well, I was gonna go back to a different subject that I heard you guys talk about. Is that actually INTPs and ISTPs use TI differently in socionics, which is really interesting. They almost use it in opposite ways. So INTPs use TI for natural laws, which is like almost reducing down everything to principles, whereas ISTPs use TI for artificial laws. So they more want to construct laws that govern reality and humankind in a more artificial way, like inventing laws versus reducing everything down to their natural principles.
Interesting.
I could definitely relate to that.
And I assume ESTJs and ENTJs, they have different ways they use TE. I mean, it's the thing is it's like you have to take into account their dominant function coupled with their second function, because it's almost like a combo. Like you aren't just a TE person, you're a TE-NI person or a TI-NE person, They go hand in hand.
And it's going to be the way like for me and you, like I'm always going to perceive information mainly on extrovert intuition, where you're going to perceive it through extroverted sensing. Well, what did you say the extroverted sensing? How does that? So I want to view things down to their basic principles, and I relate to that highly. How does SE affect TI?
Well, it's like the way I see it is like I'm constructing a giant like Lego fortress or something with my thoughts. It's like I take something and I'm just like, okay, where does this fit into my giant introvert thinking fortress? Okay, that goes over here. So then I add it to the fortress, and it just gets bigger and bigger until I have this giant framework that all just like it all is stable and makes sense. Whereas I feel like INTPs are just they're looking at this giant mess and just picking out one thing and being like, okay, this is the one thing that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I think
So-
like for me, it's like I relate to the basic principle things where it's like in anytime I'm learning about a new subject, as soon as I identify the basic mechanisms by which the subject or the information works together, I find that most of the time I can take information from that and translate it into another subject, and those points are able to be manifested there. And I feel like when I understand information about anything, it always seems to translate to other areas too. So it's like a weird, it's like identifying. The only way I can explain is I'm identifying like the mechanisms by which it works, by which it operates, and I'm able to identify those same mechanisms because now I'm more conscious of those and how they work, and I can identify that easier in other systems. One way I think I use TE unconsciously or consciously, where it mostly is like unconsciously, but I've learned the best way to respond if I really don't know. Because when I was younger, I used to have this habit of like, if I didn't know like what someone was talking about, or if they asked my opinion on something, I didn't have an answer. I would just kind of sit in silence and not really know what to respond with. But now I think the best way to respond is I'll usually say, give me the facts. If you give me all the concrete facts, then I will find some way to put that together in a structure, and I'll form an opinion.
Well, in I read a lot about socionics. Quadrats, do you guys know about those?
I know on the base level. I don't know if Chad does though. You might just. Well, I know. Level. Yeah.
Well, I can go over that a little bit after I explain this point because this point doesn't necessarily rely on that. But each type has a role in society. Like that's why they all coexist, and the INTP's role is basically taking the prototype that the ENTP creates, like a prototype for anything, a mechanism, a framework, whatever. They take the prototype and they make it sound. They make it sound so that it can become applicable, and then once it can become applicable, the other types take that over and then use it.
Okay, so 1 second though. I want to clarify something for any audience that's watching this video. You said the INTP and ENTP. Do you mean the INTJ in socionics?
So in socionics, I mean the ILI. INTJ with the lowercase j, INTP, because I'm just going to go ahead and say that I view socionics and Myers-Briggs as you can transfer the system. Some people don't think that, but I think you can transfer TI equals TI in both systems, you know?
Right. I'm just asking for clarity, because, I mean, if you were talking about a socionics theory, and you said INTP and ENTP, and so...
Yeah, so when I explain socionics theories, I'm going to use Myers-Briggs terms forever. When I say INTP, I mean TI and E in both systems.
Well, okay, I think that what I like about the way you explain things, Patrick, I feel like you're more aligned with Jung's original theories. I feel like you always run it through that framework, which is the same thing I do. So like I find the same thing. I think that even through both interpretations, there is a foundational framework that's running through, which is Jung's cognitive functions. You know.
Yeah, and also. I try to keep the the bullshit, all this stuff out of it, because when it comes down to it, socionics explains things really simply. Extrovert sensing is what an object is, and extrovert intuition is the potential of the object. Extrovert thinking is the process, the function of different objects. Extrovert feeling is the inner ethics of the inner workings of people and the processes. And then FI is it's like the repulsion and attraction between people. Introvert thinking is the distance between objects. Introvert intuition is the passage of time, and introvert sensing is the well-being, the state of objects. So it's like the core foundation are those, and then you can expand those out to anything you want, you know.
Yeah, I think that's how the INTP's functions work since they have both SI and TI, they're viewing objects like down to their principles, and they're also viewing them how they relate to the subject. And then their NE is seeing like possibilities of those mechanisms and those objects and how they relate to everything else.
And TINI, I like to think of it as just making the principles that can stand the test of time, you know.
That's a really good point. They look for the principles that aren't just temporal. You know, they transcend into a sphere that's sort of like with lasting duration, almost perennial.
Yeah, Well, the article I was reading, which we can talk about quadras more, is that civilization has gone through. So there are four quadras. Each quadra has all the four types that value the same functions. So like INTPs, ENTPs, ESFJs, and ISFJs. They all value TINE, SI, and FE. They're all in one quadra, okay?
The Alpha
And
Quadra, yeah.
yeah, the alpha. So there's a theory that society and civilization has gone through three out of the four quadras, and we're currently in the gamma quadra, which is where society is currently in ENTJ, INTJ, ESFP, and ISFP, the quadra values, and eventually we're going to get to delta values, which is INFP, ENFP, ISTJ, and ESTJ. We're going to get to that point in the future. We haven't got there yet. But
Really?
like,
I would think that like things like an ESTJ, ISTJ, that would be like traditional stuff, would it not?
well, so like the alpha quadra was the first quadra that happened. That's when humans first learned to communicate. And so the alpha quadra people, they're the most talkative quadra in the four quadras. They have a complex where they don't want to be misheard. They don't want to be cut off. They don't want people to tell them to shut up. They want to explain their points eloquently so that people can hear them. And then that was like the beginning stages of society. And then we moved on to beta, which is comprised of ISTPs, ESTPs, ENFJs, and INFJs. And that's where it was the power was centralized into these focused governments like Rome was beta, and their whole thing is they don't want they're beta quadra societies always have like an outcast group at the bottom that they just like cut off constantly, so that you could see this in like Rome. They had gladiators like killing each other. A lot of previous civilizations just had like human sacrifices of like this of the unworthy people, and then eventually we moved to gamma, which is more the democratic system where we're at now, where we vote for people to be elected to the government, and eventually we're going to get to delta, where we focus more on morality in a personal way.
So is this, just to clarify and interject real quick, if I may,
Yeah.
is this primarily for the West, I imagine?
Um, this is for like, I mean, this is like
Wait, you're breaking up a little bit.
Of democratic values.
Wait, you're breaking up.
Yeah, we lost Patrick.
So, you hear me?
It'll probably take a few seconds.
Yeah, I see you, but I mean,
You hear me, Tess?
we've lost your connection.
Wait, it might be getting better now.
You're on your first page.
Yeah, try refreshing real quick.
But I want to share a perspective here while he's doing that, and my perspective is that, as ENTJ, I mean, there's two of them. He is a true god.
Who?
You can see two of me at the same time?
Yeah.
Created himself. You
Oh,
are
God.
the first successful human clone.
Okay, there we go. It's
Okay,
gone.
now it's gone.
But yeah, so
so-
delta would be where humans have reached technological zenith, so that we don't have to do anything. That's the ISTJ. ISTJs don't want to do anything, and we get.
That's
to-
so funny. Faith, like my ISTJ girlfriend, she just like she would love to just like be comfortable all the time.
Yeah,
The
we want to
SI
be
dom shit.
comfortable all the time. So that's when we reach our technological height, where we don't have to do anything. The INFP and the ENFP, they kick in where we're actually helping people right next to us, instead of just like theorizing about how we're going to help starving children in Africa. We're actually helping people like our neighbors and stuff. And so I think we haven't quite gotten to that point where everyone feels like we want to help people right next to us.
Yeah, I think, but you can definitely tell in like even economic policy, like globalization and everything like that. I mean, you can tell the society is definitely moving towards something like that. But what I was going to ask before is this theory exclusive to the West and its progression in society?
No, so well, I think it's all of human civilization, and it could be in different like regions. It's going through different phases, but in the article I read, it was clear that when humans learned to first communicate, that's when the Alpha Quadrant began, where they are the quadra most wanting to
We're
expand
like
their.
civilization builders, kind of.
It's like I can talk. Let me start telling everyone my opinion and stuff, you know. And
Okay, so,
exchanging
What a
information.
funny.
I'm going to share something. What goes through my head right now, and what goes through my head is this. This is really interesting. What the hell are we going to do about the problems right now? And so that's that TE kicking in, and I actually like it because I like to understand, and I'm listening, and I like to sit back and listen. But I can't. I'm just demonstrating this.
You
This
just don't
TE
care as much as I do, because for me,
Yeah.
this is like intellectual masturbation. Like I'm just going off right now. It's so exciting for me.
and I get that, and I have a component of me that's like, this is awesome, but at the same time I'm like, okay, let's make some plans, let's get some shit moving. Like
Let's
Yeah.
get into that gamma quadra
got-
right now, guys. What can we do?
we've got so much intellectual from scattered all around this nation that could actually fix this shit, and everybody's sitting around masturbating on intellectual ideas.
Yeah.
And that's my viewpoint is like, why don't everybody get the shit together and fix this shit instead of just sitting here talking about all this shit, because these people are a lot smarter than I am, you know, and I wish they would combine resources and fix the shit that we have.
I wish they were
Well,
efficient.
Yeah, well, that's why I like ENTJs, because like I have that extrovert sensing. So if you tell me let's get shit done, I'll be willing to forego the intellectual talk and be like, all right, like if you have an idea of something we can do, I'll do it. You know, like I don't necessarily think of the idea. You have that extrovert thinking of the idea, but I'm willing to actually do it. Whereas the NTs are more likely to be like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna go back to my research now or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what do you
Sometimes I wish I was an ST though, like being able to just like make things happen. SE is like my seventh slot, so it's like terrible. I can't get shit. I can't start shit.
I think Kant was a pretty productive guy though, Immanuel
Yeah.
Kant.
Yeah.
He had productivity in a different way in that he just knew the things he was supposed to do, did them, and he didn't feel the need to do anything else.
Wasn't Kant
He
the one who
tripped up-
never left his Didn't he never leave his hometown though?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. That would make sense for an ITP.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
Kant. That was like that.
Kant tripped up, I think, in a lot of areas because I mean he tripped. He I don't think he ever really reached consensus on some of his theories. He kept diving in so deep that no one can apply his actual theory. How can you remove self-interest from true? I mean, how can you remove self-interest? And that's where my whole point is in Kant's version of morality is it's not good if it contains any amount of self-interest.
We're talking about like the categorical imperative.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Well, the categorical imperative is basically like, okay, so you have to understand this is like after the French Revolution, so pretty much all like old traditions and shit. Like this was like the Enlightenment period where everyone is based on like rationalism, like empiricism, things like that. And Kant's just like, oh, but guys, we can have morality with reason. Look, if everyone was lying, then no one would know like what anyone's talking about. Therefore, we can run a moral framework based on like if everyone does this thing and society would be bad, we could generally assume that that's probably a bad thing. If everyone was murdering each other, that would be bad. It's the categorical imperative. If everyone was lying, no one would know what anyone was saying. If everyone was murdering
It
each
has
other,
to be true in all cases.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
exactly.
key.
Yeah, but
That's the
one of
key
the
behind-
one of the criticisms of it is like, or I guess one of the objections is like the axe murderer thing, where it's like you open your door, like a guy runs to your house and like you don't know why he's there and he hides in the basement, and you open your door and there's an axe murderer and he says like, did my victim like run through here? And it's like, is it still wrong to lie in that case? I mean, according to Kant's ethics, it would be, but it's
and
tricky.
That's why I mean he analyzed it to death and it became inefficient. That's my whole point.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know,
think. Go on.
What is that? I mean, I think the idea, the whole theory is awesome, and I think the morality is really cool. But at the same time, it's like, where's the practical application? you have this great theory, but yet it can't be used. Point is that if you have a good idea but it's inefficient, then what the hell's the point of even having the idea?
Yeah.
And that's a grounding with my NI and SE is I have to have some kind of practical slant to what is being done, you know. And I'm sure that you know, Patrick, you probably experienced the same thing, you know, NI SE in a similar fashion.
Yeah, well, so it's like this socionic stuff, I really want to get it down so that for me, ISTPs is commonly like they just want to get really good at something. Like I want to just become an expert at socionics so that like I can actually use it. So like I can look at someone, type them, and then handle the situation appropriately. So except I'm perfectionistic in that I feel like I have to constantly be becoming better at this stuff so that I can feel comfortable using it, you know.
Right. Yeah, you want to be thorough in what you know and accurate versus, you know, being able to just kind of go with the flow, I guess, in the sense of ideas and concepts.
Is it better to
Yeah.
be good at one thing, or is it better to be a master at one thing as opposed to like really good at a bunch of things?
That's too vague. I think that's too vague to answer because
I could answer. Well, the impulse answer I had was I'd rather be good at one thing because then you can make a lot of money being really good, being the best at one thing. You know, being the best basketball player, you can make a shit ton of money. Versus if you're good at a lot of things, it depends. Like if you're good at business, that requires a lot of skills. You're gonna make a lot of money. If you're good at like painting and like baking, like you're not gonna do shit. You know.
Yeah, but
Good
I
at
say
baking.
this,
I can make the hell out of a fucking cake.
I say this in the sense that you said, is it better? And the key word is it better? Better in what regard? Is it better to make money? Is it better to be happy? Is it better to, there's all kinds of variables.
Good point.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You can't really say is it better unless you specify what better actually is. Because in my opinion, if you want to make money, you can't be a generalist. You have to be a specialist. So you do have to pick one thing. But if you want to be happy, you may find that both painting pictures and swimming with whales makes you happy. You know?
Yeah.
And
Do you find it's better to become a specialist in something you like, or something that you happen to be good at, but you don't want to prioritize?
And again, we're
don't
using
think-
the word better. What do you mean? Is it for money? Is it for? Is it
For personal happiness.
Fuck no.
Yeah, for happiness, you need
don't
to
wanna
definitely
kill
do something you
yourself.
enjoy. Yeah, do something you enjoy. Like, for example, I'm really freaking good with computers, but I hate computers. I hate them. I don't like them. I don't want to touch them.
Really?
I'm good with them. Yeah. And, you know, to me, they waste my time. They're supposed to be time-efficient machines, but there's always some reason why they spaz out and they clone Patrick. You know? And, you know, and I don't like it. I don't like messing with it. I used to be a web developer, and I hate it. And so I don't ever want to touch. I don't ever want to look at a line of code again.
Really?
You know? And but yeah, I could pretty much pick up any coding, and I could pick it up pretty quickly and learn it. So, but I don't like it. Could I have built a business off of it? Yes, I used to make money doing it.
Okay.
But I hated it so much that I was like, no.
Okay, what happens if the thing that you want to do is inefficient? Okay, for example, if someone guaranteed me, they said, look, if you major in whatever you want at school, I will guarantee you will doing that thing, you will make money, you will be completely fine. If someone offered that to me, I would totally major in philosophy. But everyone knows majoring in philosophy is a horrible fucking idea. It is just so inefficient. Like, unless you want to go to law school, maybe. But then what happens if you don't get into law school? You know? And it's like,
Yeah. So in your case, I think that we can look at, you know, what is your goal? Here's my TE coming out. What do you want to? What is your goal? What is your objective? Do you want to make money? Because if someone said, "Hey, you want to make money," and you want to make money, you're going to do what
I want to make enough money to sustain myself so I can do things that I want to do, like read philosophy and stuff like that. And it seems like it'd be better for me to go into a major, something like computer science, something that I feel like I would be good at, but I wouldn't necessarily like doing, but I wouldn't mind like doing it every day. It would be so like second nature once I got good at it that it would just be like, okay, blah blah blah, I'm doing my job, and then now I get to go home and do things I want to do.
I have my opinion on that, and this could help you because we're both TI DOMs in that I don't feel passionate about anything, which I get kind of depressed about because I want to have passion in something. But the fact is that I don't have passion in something. So right now my track is I can be a computer programmer, which makes a good amount of money. I work 9 to 5, I go home, and then I do whatever I want. And then I wake up the next day, work 9 to 5, make a lot of money, do whatever I want, you know. until I maybe find something that I'm passionate about. But right now,
I feel like I'm more frustrated. My learning a subject is more out of frustration than it is passion. I think that people think that like TI DOMs are generally like they have a passion for like philosophy or they have a passion for psychology,
yeah,
but it's more like we're so frustrated that we don't know that we just keep reading trying to find
yeah.
answers and it kind of comes along, you know? Like I think that's the reality of like TI DOMs. So you would
Yeah.
recommend going into something like computer science? Is that what you did?
Well, I don't recommend going to computer science. I recommend finding something you finding the thing that you don't mind doing the most, and then if that makes sense, and then doing that. So I don't mind doing computer programming.
Yeah, see, I don't think I
Eventually,
would mind doing computer programming because I did it before back when I used to like animate avatars and stuff for this one website. I had to like do programming and I had to learn a little bit of it just to know how to put my stuff on the website, and I didn't mind it at all. Like, if that was my day job, I feel like I would be totally okay with that. But if I want to like pursue something, I don't know. There's like a small dream in me that wants to like be on the forefront of like an academic sphere. But it's hard for me to face the fact that like I'm just like an average individual, and that probably isn't like ideal. And I probably need to do something that's actually practical so I can just enjoy my hobbies. And it sounds like computer programming is something that would fit that paradigm. You know?
well, you should do an internship then, because it's only 3 months. If you hate it, you're done.
Wait,
If
really?
you like it, an internship.
Yeah, like
I'm doing one over the summer right now.
you don't have to have a degree or anything to do that.
Oh well,
Well,
you
the
have to
internship
apply to the
works toward
job.
Yeah, they have to
You
work
could-
toward the degree.
Yeah, you send your resume in, if they look at it and like it, then you get an interview. If you get an interview and you do well, you get hired.
Well, I
But
feel like the
you
only
obviously-
thing on my resume is like Eric's debate stuff is pretty much the only thing I have on my resume.
Yeah, you're kind of fucked then, because
Yeah.
they're gonna look at that and be like, why the hell would we hire this guy to program computers? He doesn't
Yeah,
know jack
exactly.
shit."
That's why I feel like it would be better to like maybe change my major to something like computer science.
Well, yeah, if you major in computer science, then you have something, because then you can write all the stuff you've done in your classes, like all the projects.
Mm-hmm. But or I guess I could also like I guess yeah the projects work as a portfolio and things like that. So I don't know. It's still something I'm still deciding on what I want to do. I actually considered like going to like a trade school maybe and learning like electrical being like an electrician or something like that. That's something that's I'm considering as well, but I haven't completely decided yet.
Eventually, I want to get a business degree and be like a manager, because I feel like there's going to come a time when computer programming is going to have run its course, and I want to work higher up the corporate ladder, and I want a business degree for that, you know. Because eventually, I don't even want to program computers. I want to hopefully manage people. That's why I like socioeconomics a lot, because I feel like I can actually use this when I'm like a manager. Like I can use this information, because I know a lot about, you know, with this stuff, I know a lot about people that they don't even, I feel like, know about themselves, you know.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Learning like MBTI and the cognitive functions, and I feel like it's
I've
you know
successfully taught MBTI to organizations, and people pay high dollar for that kind of stuff. I mean,
Really?
consulting. Oh yeah, you know, you can see anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 per workshop.
Damn, dude.
wow. I did not know that. I guess that's a benefit of becoming like MBTI certified and stuff like that. Is that
Right.
businesses? I think businesses really are. I mean, business owners want to be efficient, so they're going to look to hire the people who are going to be good for specific jobs. You know,
Right.
and that's where that kind
And
of skill
that's-
comes in.
And that's what I mean. In MBTI, with a certification, you can do all kinds of crap with it. Not just type individuals, but you can go to do workshops, you can do groups, you can do group consultations, you can talk about leadership, decision making, type development. There's all kinds of angles you can do with a certification. So for me, it's you know, I think you know, Patrick, management is a real talent, and the business degree will get you the job, but management sucks.
I'll be right back. Be right back.
Especially
Well,
lower level management is like the worst. And again, this is my perspective. I love upper level management. I can't stand lower level management. So, you know, there's I guess there's a bias.
what's the difference? Like, you've done both. What can you like describe what each is like?
Okay, so when you're in upper level management, and I say upper level like C-suite level, like CEO, CFO, CTO, whatever, CIO, whatever your C-suite titles are, or even VPs or presidents or whatever, you're actually looking on a more of a strategical level. You're looking at things in the big picture. You're looking at how resources need to be allocated and moved. You're looking at strategy. You're looking at key initiatives. You're looking at fulfilling a long-term picture. And when you move into middle level management and lower level management, you get squished. You get squished by the demands of the employees, and you get squished by the demands of the top. And you're in a position where you're getting torched from both sides, and it sucks. And I'm not a fan of that. It's like there's a particular point where I don't like not being able to control what the hell I'm trying to do. And it's like, oh, here's your rules. Okay, so we give you $5. What can you do with this $5? And I say, you know what? As lower level management, I say I can use this $5 and invest in this particular item, which will help return ROI. Nope, you're not allowed to do that. Sorry, shut up. That's pretty much how it is, especially in the corporate world. Whereas upper level management can say, here's $5. How are we going to allocate this to increase our investment? What tools and what supplies do we need to be able to achieve these goals and make that happen? So that's where the challenge with management is. It is a skill in itself, too. Management of a lot of different things. And so the question that Zachary asked earlier was, is it better to be good at a number of things in management? Yes, it is. You've got to know a lot of different categories of management, including resource management, human resources. There's a lot of different shit you got to learn. And I don't think it's fair in business to take somebody who's really good at their job, let's say a technical programmer, and to go, you know what, you're so good, we're going to move you to manager.
Yeah, and they don't want to do that either. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a waste of resources. You keep the technicians. You make managers.
Yeah, because there's a certain art in managing. There is an art in that.
Yeah, it is, and it's not easy. Yeah, I have busted my ass trying to be a decent manager in what I do, and I still find myself challenged at things that come my way every day. Oh shit, how do you get this person? I can do this job. I know how to do it, but is it a way? Now it's unproductive if I do the job because I cost $500 an hour. Okay, so if I'm $500 an hour and I'm doing a job that really I'm paying $10 an hour for, I just lost $490. What bullshit is this? So I'm not going to do the job. So I have to teach this person to fish versus giving this person a fish for the day. And that's the challenge for it. And I think that you have to look at things, and it puts you in a perspective where you're looking at management in a different way once you start experiencing that. But lower level management feels like child daycare. It doesn't really feel like management. It's like daycare. And I get challenged with that because you move from a technical job. I'm really good at my job. They move me to lower level management, and now I don't get to do what I'm good at. Instead, I'm trying to manage babies, which you'll get with a typical entry level job in the first place. Now, if you're in a corporation, you're going to have people with bachelor's degree, but now the bachelor's degree is pretty much so damn worthless anyway that you've got to have a master's before you're considered competent in shit.
Well, what's the best way to work up to the higher level management, in your opinion?
My opinion is that if you want to work up to higher level management, it depends on the company and their corporate policies. First, you have to find a company that you align with personally. And you have to have something that you align with in their policies where you fit in value-wise. So when you're doing in an interview, it's a two-way process. The problem that people have in interviewing is they think they're so desperate to get the job that they're willing to sacrifice who they are for the values of the company. And this is integration, and this is a real issue. Instead, the person needs to be also interviewing the company. What does the company have to offer me, not just monetary, to be able to make that work? The second step is once you're into that company, you need to meet their criteria, and you need to go above and beyond. As a hiring manager I've been, I look for people to move up in a company who are specifically focused on things outside of showing up for their job and checking out or clocking out. Instead, you want people to show up, do their job, give a damn about the job, and consider that and actually think. Yeah. And so that's and actually think outside of what I give you a piece of paper. Here's your job duties. Do your job duties. Great, you did a good job. Round of applause. Now, that's all gravy. Anybody can do that. Monkey see, monkey do. But beyond that, when you get into the position of, okay, now how much do I give a damn about this company? And that to me is more important than, just having a roster of job duty ideas. Like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do your job every day. So people work hard at their job. But if you want to move up and get to lower level management, you got to do that. They move you up to lower level. you got to start thinking and set your goals to a higher level. Okay, I'm in this position. Now, corporations suck. And I say this too, because, say, I don't know how old you guys are. I know Zach said he was 19. But
21.
21. Okay, so yeah, they're going to, it may take you 20 years to move in the middle to high-level management.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the shitty part about corporations is, oh shit, here's okay, this guy has been with our company for 25 years. He's now a senior vice president of this. And at that point, you're like, damn, I wasted my whole life and I'm only getting, $90,000 or whatever. And whereas for me, it's like, build your own business. We're moving into an entrepreneurial age anyway. Like, why the hell is everybody, trying to work for somebody? Build your own business if you have the capability. If you don't have the capability of building your own business, pair with people who do. And that's the key, is creating relationships with people around you to build a business that's viable. Obviously Zachary and Eric are here building, talking with famous people as a business, and it does have a small revenue model right now. But the question they have to start asking is, how are we going to monetize this? Maybe it's just a TV talk show, okay? But do you want to monetize more? Do you want to be able to support full-time income? Do you have?
You could, right? You probably could make a lot more money than they're making now, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I need to put more effort into it. Honestly, it's mostly just like
that's the ENTP INTP thing. They don't care as much.
Yeah. I just want to say no, is that how you pronounce your name? No.
Yeah, I know her personally. So she's an ENTJ as well. So I asked her if she should come in because we'll have two ENTJs. In the
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was someone who wanted to be typed or if if someone knew them.
She's been studying this stuff for a while. She's an ENTJ.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I mean the business partner thing, like that's the biggest thing for me because I constantly find people that I want to do stuff with, and then I have to be pushing them to do stuff with me, and that's just like, if I'm always having to push you, what am I getting out of it?
Well, the thing about talking to famous people, I'm not really sure what Eric kind of brought me on into it, right? It was already a process when I became integrated into it, but I'm not really sure what we're aiming for. I mean, obviously right now we do all the MBTI stuff, the psychology stuff, and that's good for garnering an audience, but I feel like that is there's a limit on it. What Caleb said, turn it into a podcast. See, originally Eric just wanted to do interviews with people sometimes and mostly do his own videos, and I was the one who kind of said, well, hey, we should just invite more people on. He wanted to do one-on-ones and stuff, and I told him that we should have just multiple people talking because it's more fun and interactive, and it's laid back, And now it's I really don't know what we're supposed to be aiming for. I don't know what we want to turn it into exactly. I don't know if we just want to keep a YouTube channel, if it needs to be something more. I really don't know. We haven't sat down and really decided that, and I think that's the issue.
I think that's key because you talked about your passion's philosophy, and here's the issue that I have with capitalism in itself. Not capitalism in itself, but the argument against capitalism is, okay, so you're in the United States of America. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. So the question I asked is, Zachary, why are you choosing, I'm going to do a job that I half like. Even Patrick said, I can put up with, or I don't like, or I can deal with. Whereas my brain goes, why do you even stomach stuff like that when you have the capability to be able to build a business on the internet for little to nothing? And you can succeed at it.
That's true. That's true.
The problem is, well, for me, I'm just going to say this, is that I've thought a lot about starting my own business. There was a time in my life where that was the only thing I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to get there. I didn't have the cognitive functions, I guess, the TE valuing to know how to do that. And I was trying to do it on my own too, and it's just I had no idea. I wanted to make a website about Enneagram and somehow market that, but I didn't have the motivation. The motivation just dried up, and I was like, well, I'll just go back to studying computer science. That's the easy thing to do.
Yeah. Everybody's interjecting in the chat, and I just want to throw this out here: is money, 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 money. To me, that's bullshit excuses. I'm sorry. We live in the digital age. These guys have made talking to famous people, $39 a month with GoToMeeting. Oh, that's so expensive. Oh my God, that's so painfully expensive. And they already have a revenue-generating model. The question is, how do you double or triple or quadruple that revenue? What is it going to take? And that's the questions you have to ask yourself. If you're always going to, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you're making excuses, you're not going to make any shots. You're just bullshitting yourself. You know, and that's the thing that I get frustrated with is money. Everybody's finding, when I was in network marketing, everybody was like, and I did network marketing as a starting in my business back when I was 18 years old, and everybody's like, oh, well, you know, most people fail in network marketing. I'm like, well, that's great. Most people fail. Are you using that as an excuse?
Yeah.
Wait, I just want to say I'm not, you know, I understand everything you're saying. Like anything that like it has cost us pretty much it costs me nothing to work on talking to famous people. It really is just the product of laziness as to why I haven't like pursued it more. But the only thing I will say is that we really haven't sat down and decided what exactly we want it to be. And I think one of the problems is that we've kind of like made it so flexible where it's like there's like the music stuff, there's the YouTube stuff, there's the like cognitive function stuff, and it's like what are we trying to achieve like exactly? And I think that's kind of like the like iffy part of it, where I'm not really sure, you know. But
and I'm not specifically talking with famous people. I'm talking about these comments of these reasons why people can't live in a digital age. You don't have to spend a lot of money in it.
And you can learn pretty much any subject. I mean, not any subject. Obviously, it's going to be easier if you learn it in like a classroom or something. But most subjects that would be required for starting a business, you can find online. Like you can, if you want to have a business degree to understand like how to start a business, you can find courses and stuff like that online of like there are universities that provide them for free, you know, or old documents and stuff like that, books. Like there's pretty much no excuse, at least educationally, why one can't start anything, you know, even like programming and stuff like that.
Go ahead, Patrick. Sorry.
I want you to say your point because you have something to say. I want to change the subject because Anne here she just joined. We have not addressed the fact that she exists. So I first want to address that Anne.
The lack of FE is obvious.
Yeah.
The what?
Lack of FE is obvious.
Oh, of course, always.
And nobody noticed you for like the 10
always.
minutes that you were staring at us debating. So the lack of FE is totally.
Yeah,
totally
it's dominant here.
So how do I pronounce your name?
We're all thinking DOMs. Actually, we're all thinking DOMs. But you can finish your point. The thing I wanted to bring up afterwards is if the ENTJs had a Myers-Briggs business partner that they find most favorable in general. You guys can sort of say your views on that.
Okay, so I'll start with my point, and then I'll answer that question. So, like I was saying, you know, there's a difference between having a reason and having an excuse when it comes to, say, building a business. Okay? And an excuse simply is a reason why you're not doing it. A reason why you're actually not doing it is because you can't do it. There's some specific circumstance that you can't do it at this time. Okay, and that's the fact. You just can't put it together. So, example, if GoToMeeting was $39 a month and you had $10 in your account, you can't do it. Now, you can find a way around to do it, but again, eventually you're going to wind up boiling down to creating an excuse again, which is, I can't find an extra $29. Okay, well, yeah, you can. You can find $29. I'm sorry. You know, so the question.
Yeah, exactly.
As for and it all comes to value. Here's the sense of selling, and I talk about selling quite a bit. Is it all comes to value. It's called value-based selling. If I go, hey, Patrick or Zachary, if I put a Ferrari in your front yard, and I said, you know what, this Ferrari is, I'm going to sell it for $1,000. How fast are you going to find that $1,000?
Very quickly.
I'm just going to ask my dad to send some over.
Yeah, I would borrow money to buy that shit.
Yeah, point is you'd get a loan, you'd find a way to do it. So if I said, hey Zachary, it's going to cost you $1,000 to start a business. You're like, well, I'm not as confident how much the value of the business is worth. That means you're not confident in your own idea. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't see value in your
That's a really good distinction, actually.
I can't judge the value of my ideas. I have ideas, and I'm just like, that's a cool idea. I have no idea if it could make me money, but it's cool. I think maybe that's
I think what introvert thinkers are prone to is like, that's a cool idea. Let me refine it more and never do anything about it.
Right. There's a point where, you know, drilling down and being so precise actually is inefficient. There's a balance.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%.
Which is the problem
Absolutely.
with NTJs and STJs is that because we're TE users, sometimes we don't always have the right way, but we know how to make that semi-right way work. Whereas NTPs have a really right way, and they can't make it work. They don't know how to make it work. They don't know how to apply it. So the question is, what kind of business partner would be beneficial for an ENTJ? Is one that can complement the weaknesses of the ENTJ in the sense of business. A business is a primarily TJ world, but it depends on what your business is. If you're a service-based business, you're looking for someone who's an NF or SF. I guarantee you're going to want somebody that's involved in customer service. Okay, but if your business is an online product service that you're selling something and people buy it and there's no human interaction, get another NT or another ST on board. Get the crap done, build the framework, whatever you framework. And for me, because my business is actually kind of an umbrella corporation, I own six different businesses right now. Each one, I have a particular person that I have involved in some kind of aspect that complements my weaknesses, primarily INPs or ENPs, and depending on what it is, and because it complements the areas in which I'm weak. For example, perspective, or drilling down to something that I need more specific data, or I need a more further refined theory or execution of a particular thing. So if I said, hey, Zachary, I want to reframe, I want to change the government, I want to change the political system, and you go, well, what are your views? And I say this, this, and this. And you say, okay, I see a problem with this view. Here's why I see a problem. What result do you think this was thinking about this? Do you think that's inherently wrong? You can go on the details of this, and it can make the idea beneficial, and I'll cut it off after a point where it starts becoming inefficient, because I know when the tipping point is. And so that's the key, is understanding where that tipping point is, where it's the perfect balance of efficiency and precision. Not so much so precise that it's not inefficient, not that they're complete contradictory or they contradict each other in the first place, but finding that right tipping point is the key. And that's the key to be able to make it sustainable, not just one of the keys to make a sustainable business model.
So Chad's ideal business partner is the most efficient one.
What a typical response. No, I mean that was very informative though. That was very informative. All these, it's very interesting to hear your insights on business and business management, starting a business, because I find it very, very informative and almost like inspiring, because I know you're a TE Dom and you also have intuition, so it's not like listening to an ESTJ or something. But it makes complete sense to me, where it's like, yeah, like these ideas make logical sense, and it's very, I can see how they can be applied, and that was a good point about the car thing. If you came to me and said like, hey, this is a Ferrari or like a Lamborghini and you can have it for $1,000, like, I'm gonna find $1,000 pretty damn quick, and it's like, it's really just putting in perspective, like, how much do you value your ideas and your worth as a creator,
Right, and this goes back to a conversation that I think Eric had the other day, which was about typing services. Should I charge to type people? Eric doesn't see it as valuable, and whereas I see it as highly valuable.
Which is ironic, because Eric advocates for a free market, so that's very ironic. He doesn't see it as valuable because, yeah, but
and and he sees it as something he wouldn't pay for, and so he's using that perspective to be able to say, hey, I wouldn't pay for it. That's true. The way that Eric feels like he's typing is not worth money, so he said that he wouldn't pay for the way that he types somebody. Whereas,
well, I think it's an FE thing too. I think he enjoys people coming in and letting him like type them and shit too.
That's a whole other psychological
more than the money, maybe.
Right, and that's what's worth more to him, personally. For me, it's, I have a service and I know how much it's worth, and if I don't feel like I charge what it's worth, I feel like I've shorthanded myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is your time. You're paying for this. You paid for this. You learned this. This is your time. And so, I have a different perspective. So, that's, and again, the question that it all boils down to is, what is the typing service? What is actually involved in the typing service? If you know a Ferrari, everybody kind of universally knows what a Ferrari is. They know how much perceived societal value is on that Ferrari, but the typing service is vague. It's like, what's involved in typing? Am I just going to sit and guess your type by asking random questions? Or am I actually going to have a structure to be able to actually help you uncover your type, but I help you uncover it, and I don't uncover anything. I don't choose your type for you. You choose your type. I just uncover the bullshit, remove the biases. How much is that worth? And so someone who says, well, type's not really important. I mean, yeah, I can do it without type. I can live my life without type. Then you don't have a problem I can solve. But if someone can come to me and go, you know what? I'm stuck in my relationships. I find myself, I'm hamstringing myself. And, I find myself not being able to develop. I find myself that I'm challenged. How much are solving those problems worth to you? Would you pay $1,000 to fix a broken relationship?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I haven't been in the one, but I imagine putting myself in like the hypothetical situation of like being in a broken relationship that like if I had like a wife or something, then
Now,
I
here's
could.
the thing, though, and here's the thing about it, and this is what I say from a perspective of my own too, is if I charge $7,000 to type somebody, and that's all I do, and it has no application, just to learn something, how much? The question you have to ask yourself is, how much is that knowledge worth? Okay. So now, granted, I don't think knowing your type does shit. I think knowing how to apply your type does a lot. Okay?
That's a very good
the
distinction.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the benefit of professional typing is I can teach you how to apply your type, and so
You become aware of your blind spots, you know, like how I'm aware of that my SE and my FE are pretty much like sort of like my Achilles heels, you know, and I think a lot of people, you know, misuse the paradigm of like they find out like, oh, I'm bad at FE, now I know why I'm bad at that kind of stuff, and then they just kind of go on. They don't.
Doing that. And it's like, oh, okay, my relationship sucks because it's just me being INTP.
It justifies poor behavior.
They fail to realize the point of the entire paradigm, which in its original context was used to help people develop and work through issues, such as like in psychotherapy and stuff like that, you know? And it's like that's the primary purpose of it.
I could talk about this all day because I love business, sales, everything. And I'll tell you about this real quick, and I'll make sure I move this out of the way so that way it's not strictly a business conversation.
Because then also we need to get Anne's.
We have to get Anne. I'm sorry, Anne.
I've been sitting there looking in the camera, being like, Anne has not talked yet. We need to get her to talk.
You guys, inferior FE. So I just want to say this: pricing. Okay, so in business, pricing is actually a strategy in itself. It's called pricing strategy. If I price myself $10, right? There's an inherent value that's associated with how much it's worth. Okay? So if I have an excellent service and it's $10, everybody's going to buy it. This is where supply meets demand. Okay? So this is where the challenge is. Supply meets demand. So if I sell it for $10, the demand is going to be so high that I can't supply it with enough hours in the day. It also attracts a certain market that's willing to pay $10. So I know that the right person that I'm looking for is the person that has a problem that needs to be solved. And they're willing to pay high money for that problem to be solved because it's important to them, which means that they're going to take what I say more seriously. Whereas I can have somebody pay $10 and they can just beat around the bush and bullshit me for an hour and a half as I type them. You know, and that's not what I want. I don't want to waste my time. I want my value to people's lives. So by pricing higher, I remove myself from a certain market that can't afford me. Because again, you all can technically afford me, but again, you don't have the problem that's worth solving or worth paying X amount of dollars for. So you're not my market in the first place.
I think that also applies to why like freelance artists like cost so much, because it takes a lot of effort and there's a huge skill in it, and it's not something that, you know, someone who is just going to pay you $20 to, I don't know, draw their fucking like Twitter avatar or some shit like that, you know, where it's like you have to add value to what you do. Like if you don't have that variable there, I mean, like that's the whole point of it.
I want to jump on this real quick. Unify says, I don't know if Unify is a guy or a girl, but they say he sees all as being under the same roof of economic and social ladder. That's bullshit.
No, that's the exact opposite of what he said.
That's the exact opposite of what I said, because what I said is if it's valuable enough to you, you're going to find a way to find that money in the United States of America. You will get a loan, you will borrow from mom, you'll borrow from a friend, you'll borrow from everybody and anybody that you can possibly borrow from. You will plan the streets, you will find a way, you'll sell your car, you'll sell your TV, sell your shoes. If it's worth enough to solve the problem, you'll sell your body, you'll sell your hair to solve the problem, if that problem is worth that much to solve. This is not a social or economic issue. This is a personal value issue. Okay, how much do you value that problem being solved? Period.
What do you do to Unify if you need money? What you do is you get two milk jugs that are empty, right? Fill them up with water. You start working out. Home workout. Get ripped. Then you buy a $20 webcam. And you start doing porn shows where you masturbate online. That'll get you the money.
Yeah, you can actually start doing that while you're working out. Just like get that going.
I'm not kidding. There's this guy on, he has some kind of cat food business. I'm sure somebody knows his name. He sells cat food. That's his business. Do you know how he markets this? by lifting his cat as a weight.
That's
Yes.
fucking amazing.
And he has like 1.5 million subscribers. He's on YouTube, and all he does is play with his cat. And he lifts his cat.
He plays with his pussy, one could say.
That's like
Yeah. Dude is ripped as shit. He's built his shit, and he works out with his cat. And all these women are loving this guy, and he makes money off of it. Okay. And the point is that, he's using his marketing strategy and targeting the right market. So, selecting the market, like, if you guys were to come to me as famous people, and you guys were to come to me and go, you know what, we kind of know what we want to do. We don't know how to get there. The first thing I would say is, who are you targeting? Who's your target market? Who are you speaking to? And then,
Yeah, see, that's one of my issues with it, because I feel like the target audience for us right now would be like MBTI individuals, but we're doing it in the wrong way. Like, we have to do it like in a sense of, look, it's not just a theory, it's something that can be applied to your life and improve it, and that is why it's beneficial. But I don't feel like we have that sort of atmosphere at the moment. It's more of just like a fun, like, GTM thing,
Right, and it could be just entertainment. If you don't have a vision for it, that's fine. And that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that, And the question you have to ask yourself, which goes back to what we originally started with, was, if you want a full-time income, you have several options. You can go join the workforce, work 30 years, and eventually get the position that you think you want. Like Patrick said, he wants to move in upper-level management. Or you can have the chance of moving in upper-level management within 2 years or 1 year by building a company. And and this again it all boils down to what you want. So if you want GoToMeeting to be, or not GoToMeeting, I'm sorry, if you want Talking with Famous People to be a business, it's very possible that Zachary can actually make a living off of these GoToMeeting videos. And the question is, okay, so if GoToMeeting or Talking with Famous People is generating, say, $50 of revenue per month, okay, how do I get that to sustain my living expense? I need to take that $50 minus the $39 a month of GoToMeeting. That's the only expense of, Talking with Famous People is the $39. So that's, a net profit of $11. How am I going to take that $11 profit and boost it to, say, a $3,000 profit? How do I do that? And that's,
all right, Chad. I'm gonna make you an offer. If you pay me $1,000 right now, you get 25% of the Talking with Famous People franchise. Yes or no?
No.
Oh, fuck my life. Okay.
And let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, because there's no business model that's in place.
Yeah,
There's
well,
no
I knew you
vision
were going to
that's in
say
place.
that. I knew you were going to say that, but...
I don't invest in stuff that say, that has no vision, no plan. You don't invest in anything that has no plan. I have to make sure that Ferrari in my yard actually works. And
That's a good point, Trevor.
Oh, fuck, I didn't think of that. I was just going to buy the Ferrari. And you were going to sell me a broken one. Fuck.
Yeah, you still have a frame of it or some shit.
Yeah, and you have to make sure it's more. You have to do your research and find out if.
Hey, you're an ISTP, Patrick. You'd figure out how to fucking put it all together.
I'd fix it. I'd just fix it.
Yeah. Where the hell did he get this engine from? It came out of nowhere.
All right, well, enough. Okay, well, finish your point real quick, Chad, and let's finally get to Ann.
I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to stop talking.
Can you guys, stop talking and let Ann talk? I know.
This is so informative, though. It is so informative.
All right, Ann, I'm gonna give the.
So,
see ya.
I want to make a distinction here, is that Chad is a TE. Oh, he left. Wait, is he coming back, or do you just leave?
I'm not sure. I think he might just be taking a break.
Okay,
No,
anyway.
I said I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm taking a break.
Yeah, so for everyone watching, Chad is in socionics, there's subtypes.
Wait, let me stop the recording and make a new video real quick. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, this is a video.
Yeah, I recorded all of this, like an hour long. Goddamn, hold on. Thanks for watching Talking Famous People. Cheers.